Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and what is this in the background that I have here? Well, obviously this is all of my legendary characters in my roster. What are we here to talk about today? Well, we're here to talk about all of the best legendary characters in the game, and we're going to be ranking them. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a tier list of not only the 20 legendary characters that are in the game right now, but also some of the all of the Dark Dimension characters and some of the bonus characters as well. We're going to be covering quite a few characters in this because this is going to be a video for accounts of all ages, really. Whether you're a new player or you're a veteran player, I'm going to be going through my opinions of which legendaries are the best and which are worth upgrading, which ones are not, and ones that you should basically leave a level 1. The only reason why mine are not level 1, obviously, is because at some point in time in the game's history, they were useful. But I just want to kind of help people avoid this, and I've gotten a lot of questions about whether or not this character is good or that character is good, so I want to answer all of that here in this video. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Now, before we do get to the tier list really quick, I just want to mention that if you go to marvelstrikeforce.com/legendary, or you just click on the game button, you click on legendary events, this will give you the old style of legendary release methods. So most of these are permanent now, I think, and Omega Red is also going to be permanent coming pretty soon. Some of these have had their star ranks reduced, but it does show all of the eligible characters that you can use for the event. You can see that Shuri has a shit ton of characters that you can use. Even Phoenix actually has a lot more. Unfortunately, she's not very good. But a lot of the other characters, unfortunately, are stuck to specific characters. Nick Fury, namely, for one. Magneto actually has a crap ton of characters that you can use for his unlock, so it's not that big of a deal. Iron Man has quite a few. So you can see all the different ones here. Wow, Black Bolt, too bad he's not any good. Certain characters are a little bit more locked, though. So I just wanted to point that out. As far as the Horsemen characters go, what you can do is you can click on Game, click on Maps, and then it's going to bring up this, and you can find all of the different events. That being said, we're still waiting on whatever this official method of the permanent Horseman stuff is going to be. This is something that I was going to maybe put into a separate video, because I feel like they mentioned this 6 months ago, and we still no hide nor hair of what the hell they're doing for the permanence of Pestilence, Famine, War, and Death. I have no idea. But as far as Nova, Black Cat, and obviously we have Green Goblin, you can find all this information here. You can click on it, and if you go to difficulty 5, for example, it'll give you all the traits on here as well. So if you need any information on that, about what you should be building, then make sure you check that out, especially for Black Cat. That's going to be coming around pretty soon. So do check here, and you can see all the traits here. So let's get started, because I don't know how long this is going to take. Now, there's going to be 20 plus some of the Dark Dimension characters that I want to kind of add in here, and of course Apocalypse and Super Skrull. Some of these are going to have longer conversations than others, so let's just get started. So Star-Lord. Star-Lord, unfortunately, is garbage. Now, we have the... Okay, actually, I should have explained the tiers first. So we have the must build. This is Gear 18. This is Dark Dimension 6 level of building, pretty much. We have very good. I have this at G16+. So this is basically Apocalypse, G17, G16, 17, the kind of Apocalypse, that kind of thing. Or just really good standalone characters. Viable, this is sort of, they're not terrible characters, but you don't need to necessarily bring them up very high. And they can get the job done at around that tier. Not important is very similar to Awful. Maybe I could have condensed this into the same one. I don't know where I'm going to be putting certain ones in there, but basically they're irrelevant at this stage. There may be some that are better than others, but you probably wouldn't, nothing bad would happen if you didn't invest in them, basically. So with all that said and done, let's start with Star-Lord. OG Star-Lord, he is going to be in the Awful category, so he is usable in the Nowhere Heist event. The Nowhere Heist event gets you gold promotion credits and dark promotion credits, but it's just absolute garbage. Actually, no, I'm not even sure if that's right. Elite 7 credits and dark promotion credits, but it's just so garbage. There's actually a couple of characters on this list that you need for it, but yeah, it's really not worth building for. Now that we have the Incursion campaign, Unless that flash event gets buffed, there's absolutely, you can basically leave Star-Lord level 1. There's no point in building him at this point in time. So he's going to be staying here in the awful category. Ultimus also staying in the awful category. He's not moving from this. He's been kind of the iconic character of Marvel Strike Force, but he's never really been that good. So don't build him. Keep him at level 1. Ultron. So I'm going to put him in the viable category. So my Ultron, I believe, is gear 16, but you don't really need him that high. Unfortunately, he's a very expensive build as far as gear requirements go. He's very good in the Masters of Evil team, and there's some niche usage for him elsewhere in various random events. But because you need Dark Promotion creds to make him stronger at this point in time, I don't think it's really worth it. So he's an okay character. Like, I would take him to gear 14 where you get the stat bombs, use him with the Masters of Evil, that kind of thing. He's not terrible, but I don't think he's worth like anything higher than that, in my opinion. Ebony Maw. This might get me some hate. I'm going to put him in the not important category. I actually think that you could leave him at level 1. I think despite the Black Order rework, if you had already built the Black Order like myself and you have them at like, I don't know, 800k plus, great. But if you hadn't touched the Black Order, I would not go out of your way to build them at all. Even still, I know it was a recent rework, but it wasn't amazing. So I don't think that at this time it just was enough. And Ebony Maw is not a character that you really need to consider that much at this time. Nick Fury. I'm going to put him in the very good category for G16+. So he is still used in Incursion Raid, right? The Invaders team is still big. Nick Fury is a very great character. I don't think you have to take him to gear 18 for Dark Dimension 6. Some people did, but there are alternatives that you can do to get around him, especially now that we have Green Goblin out. So I think if you had done Dark Dimension 6 before Green Goblin, you probably would have upgraded Nick Fury, but now that there's another option, I think that maybe you don't have to do this if you don't want to. So at the very least, though, you're still going to need him at like a gear 16 plus range, and so that's where I'm going to leave Nick Fury because he's useful. Magneto. Also going into the same kind of category for a lot of the same reasons. He's part of Death Seed. You're still using him right now in the Incursion 1 and Incursion 2. But, the team is sliding a little bit. The mutant team is probably going to get replaced within the next 4 or 5 months. That's my guess. Maybe sooner. Actually, I don't know why I said that long. Probably 3 to 4 months, honestly, at this point. But the Death Seed team is still really strong. So I think that he's still worth building. It's just you don't need to take him to like gear tier 18. He's very expensive in the same way Ultron is. But nonetheless, the Death Seed team is still pretty strong. You're going to need to have them up to gear 17 if you want Big Apocalypse anyways. So that's why he's in this category here. Invisible One. Keeping in the trash category. Or the awful category. I should have just, we're renaming this to trash. It's the trash category. Phoenix, that's unfortunate. Just Phoenix has been so long outside the meta that unless there's any, even with the Magic rework, it wasn't worth building at that point in time, unless you had already built them. And so Phoenix stays down there. Maybe there'll be a rework down in the future again to use Phoenix somehow, but just hasn't been really valid since like Dark Dimension 3, which is a very long time ago. Doc Ock! I gotta put him up here. I love Doc Ock. I love the Sinister Six rework. Even the old characters is just truly amazing. Doc Ock, I am taking to gear tier 18 for Dark Dimension 6. I'm not too far away from him. So, yeah, I do think that Doc Ock is worth the investment. I think Sinister 6 is worth the investment, whether you're doing it for War or for Crucible or both, and a lot of the Sinister 6 characters which are valid in Dark Dimension 6 as well. So, some really good options here. He's tech. I love Doc Ock, so he's going up there. Dr. Doom. This is a tough one. I have him at gear tier 18, but not everyone did this. So I'm gonna put him in I'm gonna put him in this category. Now, I'm gonna say that you should probably have Dr. Doom to like gear tier 16 at least. I think that's fine. Because he's dual traded with Tech and Mystic Gear, I don't think it's super hard to actually get him geared up. It's a little bit of both, and I think he's still good. I think he's still very good, and I think he's going to be one of those characters that you're still going to you're going to come back to, whether it's for specific events or some other reasons. I think that he's worth having up there. And I'm going to put Dormammu in the same category. The only reason why they're not in the G18 category is because it's just not, the bottlenecks haven't been loosened up. I think like when they are loosened up a little bit more, I think I will upgrade Dormammu to G18. So he's kind of in between here, but I think he's still someone that you want to have built up. You know, once you unlock him, I would still at least take him to gear tier 16, you know, because you're going to get a lot of usage out of him. Shuri. Yeah, Shuri. I'm going to put in the viable category. You could even put it in the not important category, frankly. I've never really thought that Wakandans now, and even since the War Dogs were that important. I skip War Dogs, and so I didn't really invest heavily into the Wakandans, and I haven't really had any problems as a result of that. I did use Shuri for Dark Dimension 5 to unlock Dormammu in the G16 era, so I do have a G16 Shuri. I don't think you need to have that now. So I would actually, in fact, say that you could skip Wakandans. I don't think that there's any major reason that you need to do this anymore, so don't feel compelled to have to gear up Shuri. Omega Red, G14. Yeah, I'm going to put him in the viable category. I think that, you know, some people are still going to take him to G18, which is interesting. I don't think he's a must build. I think it really depends on what stage of the game you're at. For some people, he'll be here. For some people, he'll be up here. You know, if you're going through Dark Dimension 6 right now and you need an option, you need a legendary character for the non-Horseman team, you might have Omega Red up here. For everyone else, I would put Omega Red down here because I don't think that he's super important. Some of us, he's like the 5th legendary character that we're upgrading because we feel that we need to because we have nothing else to do. So that's why it's with a grain of salt. So Omega Red here for everyone else. If you're ready for Dark Dimension 6 right now in the legendary section, then he might be up here. But otherwise, I'm going to keep him down here. I don't really want to gear him, but I feel it's a necessity because there's nobody else. Adam Warlock. Could even put him down here, but realistically, Infinity Watch. The reason why I still think they're outdated. I don't think the Infinity Watch are still worth building at this point in time. I've been saying this for actually like about a year. And I realize that people are still using Infinity Watch. I think it's because, honestly, with Adam Warlock, they have Spawn Safeguard. That's it. The Safeguard immunity combo that they get on Spawn is what's keeping them alive. Their stats, though, are really bad. Like, their stats are very crept. And so once that stuff falls off, they're super squishy and they die really quickly. So I don't think that in the era of when there's a lot of great characters coming out right now, and especially that are farmable, I still don't think that Infinity Watch is necessary. Morgan Le Fay. I'm going to put her up here. I think actually as far as arena teams go, interestingly, because we were just talking about Infinity Watch, Darkhold is still pretty stable. You're going to need to at least take them to Gear Tier 17 in this category anyways for Big Apocalypse. But I think out of all of the Horsemen, and we'll talk about a few other ones, I think that Morgan Le Fay, and I'm going to put Red Hulk up here as well, I think are two of the strongest of the 4 Horsemen as far as possibly taking them to Gear 18. Not only for Dark Dimension 6 as part of the last section, because it makes them a little bit easier with Apocalypse, I think that they'll stand the test of time for a little bit longer than the other two. So both Rogue and Archangel are going to be going in the very good category for the reason of a Big Apocalypse, but I think that Unlimited X-Men are sliding a lot. I think that they were the first team to slide out of the 4 of them, and I don't think that Unlimited X-Men are a very good team now. If they weren't required for Apocalypse, I would even consider just skipping the entire team. For Death Seed, you're still getting value out of that right now, and I think that it will be probably not until the end of January before a full mutant team is even released, if that's the timeline within the winter patch. If it's not, could be longer. I actually think that Death Seed is a pretty good team, all things considered. They do counter quite a few things, even outside of raids. They're good in... they were good in Crucible for the raid season, the raid room that they had for that. But in Alliance Board, they still actually do quite a bit of there as well. So I actually think that Death Seeds is still a pretty good team. I'm going to put them ahead of Rogue, though. So I think that they're definitely better than Unlimited X-Men. Now, Apocalypse. No-brainer there, right? Like, do we even need to talk about it? Gear 18 all the way, take them to the moon. Super Skrull, again, do we even need to talk about that? You know, if you do have Super Skrull, you probably don't even need the advice on this video, so that's not for you. But there's a couple of characters left, so now we're basically into the trial characters. Nova. So we don't know what the requirements are going to be for Mephisto when he comes out. We have 3 out of 4 trial characters. The assumption is that Mephisto is going to be sometime after the 4th character, but we don't really know exactly what's going to be the requirement to have him unlocked. Now, I think we're kind of presuming that we don't need the full teams of all 4 of the legendary teams, but there might be some requirement of the 4 characters standalone. So at this time, I'm going to put Nova here in the G16 category. I think you should probably take him to at least G16. I think a lot of people, I might as well just put him up here, actually, because some people are taking him up to Gear 18 for, a lot of people, I don't even know why I said that. A lot of people are taking him to Gear 18 for Dark Dimension 6, so screw what I just said. You're probably going to be taking him to Gear 18 for Dark Dimension 6. But his team, though, on the other hand, I want to talk about this briefly, is that you don't actually need the Nowhere team anymore. Previously, you did need Nowhere for the Black Cat trials, but now that Sinister Six is an option, with both Green Goblin and Doc Ock and the other Sinister Six members, you don't necessarily need the Nowhere team as a whole anymore. But Nova standalone, probably still going to be building him to Gear 18 for Dark Dimension 6 when you do eventually get there. If you're really far away from that, though, I mean, I could see him being down here in the G16 category or even down here in the G14. He's a good character, but he's not game-breaking by any means, so it depends on how far away from Dark Dimension 6 you are. So just bear that in mind. Okay, and then we have Black Cat. This one's a little bit of a no-brainer. The Secret Defenders are an amazing team. They're the most recent Arena team, and Arena teams tend to stand the test of time. Right? If we talk about Darkhold, I was still saying Darkhold's a very strong team. Secret Defenders is even better. Secret Defenders is basically the best team in the game right now, as far as a synergized team goes, in my opinion. And so Black Cat is definitely going all the way up to Gear 18. And Green Goblin, only because of Dark Dimension 6, he is going here. I think that as far as the team goes more broadly, like, I love Sinister Six. I've made that very clear. I love Sinister Six, and I'm going to be building this team very high. That being said, I would basically see it as an upgrade to Unlimited X-Men at this point. So if you had to decide between 1 or 2 of the teams, yes, I know that Unlimited X-Men is required for Apocalypse. If you're really big into Crucible, though, I would actually favor the Superior 6 or just the Sinister Six more broadly, with Doc Ock and Green Goblin as the basis for that team, because they're going to put you a lot further on than Unlimited X-Men, which is over a year old now at this point. So you'll get a lot more value longer term in the game right now in your roster with Green Goblin. So basically, that's where things are. That's all the characters that I wanted to rank in this video. So these are basically the best characters here at the top. Very good. These are still characters that are worth considering and building for a couple of reasons, mainly Apocalypse. But also some good standalone character usage as well. And the other ones are a little bit less important. Hopefully I went through all the characters and my thoughts on each one of them, with the exception of Apocalypse and Super Skrull. That's pretty obvious as to why they're truly amazing. I shouldn't even need to talk about that. But for all the other characters, I hope that it made a little bit of sense and maybe helped guide you as well if you were not super familiar with all the legendary characters. And I'd be interested in your thoughts down below if you feel I misplaced some of them, or if there's some characters that you like a little bit more than me. But I know that I'm probably going to get a little bit of comments on Adam Warlock, but I still think that Infinity Watch at this point in time, given how many characters are in the game, there's other priorities at hand. That's the end of this video, everyone, and until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.